Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation with Neola. We have the pleasure of having the CEO, Hanna Sjöström, here with us today to present the company. So I'll give the floor over right away to you and follow up with a short Q&A afterwards.
Thank you so much, and hi everyone. Thank you for your interest in Neola Medical. My name is Hanna Sjöström and I'm the CEO. And today I'd like to tell you about our vision to revolutionize the care of preterm-born infants with our extraordinary innovation that has potential to really upgrade current care of these very fragile patients by monitoring their lungs continuously and direct warn when complications arise, to let us save more infants and save them to a better life without severe disabilities. Neola Medical is a late-stage development company, and we have developed the first medical device for non-invasive, continuous lung monitoring aimed at the patient group preterm-born infants. And with this medical device, we are addressing a growing clinical need since we have an increase in infants being born preterm. We have a total addressable market of 586 million euros annually for the markets US, UK, Germany, and France. And we have also sold our first Neola medical device to a EU university hospital, generating real-world evidence. And now we are in the regulatory processes for a CE mark and FDA approval, aiming to market launch in 2024. We're listed at Nasdaq First North in Stockholm, and we have the ambition to take our medical device to improve the care of preterm-born infants. So to summarize the investment highlights, we have a large and growing addressable market. The neonatal intensive care respiratory device market is expected to reach $2.5 billion in 2026. We have a great clinical need and demand. The clinical benefits of Neola greatly exceeds the ones of current monitoring methods. We also have an attractive business model. We have a razor blade model with one Neola per bed and disposable probes that are changed daily. We also have a proven technology. Neola has demonstrated positive study results in lung measurement of newborn infants. And we have a highly experienced team. The board of directors and the management has a vast experience in medical technology and commercialization. So with Neola, Neola Medical is entering a growing and non-cyclical market underpinned by favorable trends and distinct market drivers. So there is a clear need for new medical device in the neonatal care, and it's driven by a number of factors. We have a growing number of patients because there is an increase in preterm birth worldwide. That is leading to more children developing RDS, so respiratory distress syndrome, or other lung complications that need continuous lung monitoring. We also have a potential opportunity to generate high margins globally, especially in the US, where the pricing landscape is expected to be high. The market is global and was valued at $1.5 billion in 2017 and is expected to reach $2.5 billion by 2026 for neonatal intensive care respiratory products. This means that the Neola device is estimated to address a total market of minimum 586 million annually for selected markets that we're first aiming to market launch in. We also benefit from the focus on pediatric care and devices from the American FDA. Since the development of medical device for children is on average 10 years behind the development of similar for adults, the FDA has introduced incentives and guidance to encourage device development within our field. And we have a huge potential addressable market worldwide. There is an increase in preterm birth and an increase in the number of neonatal intensive care clinics around the world. And this is because there is an increased need for better neonatal care, which translates into a very high demand for technological innovation and also a willingness to pay. There is a significant market growth in the US, Europe, but also China. And especially the US is an attractive market for us due to the particularly high rate of preterm birth with more than 22,000 beds in neonatal intensive care. And the Neola device is truly needed because never before have we had so many babies born too soon. The fact is that preterm birth is the highest cause of death for infants under the age of 5 after pneumonia. And respiratory failure is the leading cause of death in preterm born babies. So 1 out of 10 babies are born preterm. That means that many of you listening have or might be a parent to a child born preterm. And if you look at the size of your palm and you imagine your baby being just that size, you can imagine the severe complications that they are having when they come to this life. As many as 50% of the extremely and very preterm born infants show sign of what we define as severe disabilities at age 11. Typically, they get cognitive and learning disabilities, they get problems with their sight and movement, and also severe breathing problems. And that is why we have developed Neola, Neonatal Lung Analyzer. So this is a medical device offering non-invasive continuous monitoring of the lungs with an instant detection of pulmonary complications to let us save more children and let them live a healthy life without severe disabilities. We're currently in the regulatory process aimed at market approval late 2023, beginning of 2024. And Neola is a Class 2 device in the US. The aim with Neola is to instantly detect and provide objective decision for support for common complications for these children, such as changes in lung aeration, slow trends that are so hard for the healthcare professionals to discover today, instant changes like a pneumothorax or atelectasis, changes in the respiration due to mucus in the tracheal tube, for example, so typical complications. And new modern technology that offers continuous monitoring of the lungs is definitely needed within the field. Preterm born infants are very vulnerable. Their lungs are not yet developed. So current monitoring methods, mainly chest X-ray, which is made on a routine basis, blood sampling, and sometimes ultrasound, are really insufficient. Mainly, they're only snapshot of the lung status, and they're also often very slow to show results. The handling of this method is disturbing for the infants, even painful, and some of them are also potentially harmful. So with Neola, we have continuous monitoring with a fast detection of complications, so very fast to show results, below a second. And it's completely safe for the infant's vulnerable skin. And it's non-invasive, which is exactly what the neonatologists are looking for. So what I'm presenting here to you today is new precision care with the potential to really upgrade the current standard of care for these infants. We believe that Neola will be able to contribute to faster detection of pulmonary complications, preventing further morbidities, decreased number of days in highly expensive neonatal intensive care, and decreased time for visual observation by the nurses. The technology is groundbreaking, and key opinion leader Professor Dempsey and his team at Infant Centre at University Hospital in Cork in Ireland are convinced that the Neola medical device have the potential to really significantly alter the way we monitor infants today in neonatal intensive care unit especially preterm-born infants with on mechanical ventilation. And the aim is then, of course, to not only monitor them more closely, but also reduce the X-ray exposure and limit the blood tests. And as a proof point of the great interest that we meet from key opinion leaders around the world, we have already now, before CE mark, sold our first Neola device to University College Cork and Infant Centre to be used in a very large investigator-sponsored clinical study led by Professor Dempsey. So this study is ongoing and includes up to 100 infants, which is a very large study. And positive results from the first 50 newborn babies were presented at a congress in the US in Florida in May this year. And the results from this clinical study is very promising. It confirms that the technology works well for measurement on newborn babies' lungs, and also that strengthens our perception of Neola's potential in neonatal intensive care. The initial results are highly encouraging. This is the largest clinical study that has been initiated with Neola to date, and we're also in the process of engaging US key opinion leaders for clinical study. We have a strong patent portfolio covering all major assets of the company. We have a long-term strategy to build a very strong patent portfolio to enable consistent value growth. Our patent portfolio is continuously strengthened. We have 6 different patent families covering both medical patents and technical focused patents. We also just acquired IP rights for the electronics platform integrated in Neola here in June, and that means that we now control all relevant IP for the company and the products, of course. We have identified a distinct path to market launch. Milestones are very important for us, and you see them more in detail here on the screen. We're mainly working with technical verification and clinical validation this year and next, the regulatory processes with authorities in Europe and the US. We have during this year strengthened the team with more regulatory and clinical expertise. And we're working with Commercialization Plan for our market entry, including price and reimbursement strategy. So we follow an established plan and we reach our milestones. And now we look forward to our next major milestones with the validation of Neola under this and next year, but also, of course, the results from the ongoing clinical study, as well as an international market launch after regulatory approvals towards the end of 2023. We have a razor blade business model to secure recurrent revenues. We are selling the Neola medical device and probes that are disposables and changed daily on the baby. And we are fitting into the existing reimbursement amount at the neonatal intensive care units. We also have a pricing strategy ongoing in the US. Our commercialization plan is divided into 3 phases. We have pre-launch, launch, and scale. We're currently in the pre-launch phase where we have sold a research device in order to gather scientific support and gain publication by key opinion leaders in the important publications within neonatal research. We're also in the regulatory processes for an FDA approval and CE mark, preparing for a market launch in the US and Europe. We're expecting the launch phase to start in 2024, where we're targeting 48 key selected teaching hospitals with very large NICU departments, so neonatal intensive care units, to get those early adopters for the Neola device. And the next phase is scaling within US and Europe, but also launching in China and Australia. Especially China is interesting because we know that the number of children born in China is very low, and because of that we see an increased focus in China on neonatal intensive care. Since our General Assembly in May this year, we have strengthened the board of directors with highly experienced professionals with life science backgrounds, for example, from Atos, Getinge, Cordates, Stille, and we also have highly experienced financial expertise as well, for example, from Hexbull and Bayer Electronics. So, to summarize, why invest in Neola Medical? Well, we have a large and growing addressable market. We have a great clinical need and a high demand. We have a very attractive business model. We have a proven technology and a highly experienced team. The board of directors of Neola Medical has also resolved on a rights issue of approximately 55 million SEK, subject to approval of an extraordinary general meeting. The purpose of the rights issue is to finance the company's continued development of Neola, including technical and clinical validation studies, regulatory processes, other commercial preparations, including also to strengthen the patent portfolio. So the rights issue is subject to an approval of an extraordinary general meeting on September 27th, and then we will launch the transaction. Approximately 80% of this rights issue is already guaranteed, mainly from existing shareholders of Anmiro AB and Per Josefsson, but also together with Bengt Nevsten, as well as the external investor LMK Venture Partners. The subscription period will run from 4th of October until 18th of October this fall, and the subscription price is 130 SEK. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you want to be part of this preferential rights issue and together join our journey in improving the care of preterm-born infants. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for a good presentation, Hanna.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions for you. I mean, usually a strong set of clinical data is good for really breaking ground in the US. So when you're discussing now with key opinion leaders, what sort of data are they looking for you to provide? Are there any predicate devices that you need to show superiority over, or is this completely new ground?
So what we're coming with is a completely new way of monitoring the body. You can compare it with when the ultrasound was developed, that also was developed in Lund. This is also a completely new monitoring method. So that's why it's a de novo application in the US. And because we're ticking all of the boxes what neonatologists are looking for, it's continuous, it's non-invasive, and it's focusing on the lung, actually seeing the oxygen gas concentration inside of the lung, but also following the lung volume. This is exactly what the neonatologists are looking for, so they are very keen on getting Neola. And I always say to the team, I wish I would have had more of Neolas in stock, and also already their regulatory approvals in place, because we have such a pull effect from the market.
Okay, that's good. I'm also wondering if there's any other solution that could potentially outcompete this. Because I know I follow Getinge, for example, and I know their neonatal ventilators, the next gen now, offer some sort of diagnostic capabilities. But I'm just wondering if they could provide enough diagnostics, or if Neola is necessary in the ICU.
So Neola is offering the doctors something completely new that no other industrial partners on the market today can supply. So we're following the lung volume of both, and you can divide into right lung and left lung continuously, but also they can see the free oxygen gas concentration inside of the lung. So today, to take a very concrete example, when the doctors are putting a baby on ventilator support, they put in the settings of the oxygen gas that they want to have in the baby, but they don't actually know what's in the lungs. And that is the measurement that we can provide. So that's why it's so interesting, but it's also very interesting, of course, from the industry perspective, because this is the type of technology that, of course, would be perfect to integrate in the next generations of ventilators.
And I assume that the gas mask patent is the most important IP that you have right now. And I believe that expires in 2028 in the US. But how important do you think, your patent portfolio is? Would it be hard for someone to develop a similar device once your patent ends, or are you fairly protected from, other aspects?
So partly we're protected because what we do is very, very advanced. It was developed at Department of Atomic Physics in Lund in Sweden. And we have the core team that developed this employed with the company. But we also have a big pool of researchers from India and from different countries around the world, also in a big center in Ireland that provides us with new employees coming into the technology. However, patent portfolio is very important to us. We have some very early patents, but we have completely complemented those patents through the years. So now what we're doing is mainly focusing, of course, building a wall to protect us against competition in the future. We focus on both technical patents, but also new medical patents. So our aim is that we will block competition as much as we can.
Yeah, I understand. Very interesting, this device. That's all the questions I had for you today. So I want to thank you very much for doing this with us, and also thank you to everyone listening in today.
Thank you so much.